Hey Amarillo, I'm Skylar Gallup and you're listening to Hey Amarillo. It is the interview podcast featuring some of the most interesting people and stories of Amarillo, Texas. We record each week at the beautiful offices of Rosenbach Contractors, experts in high-end design and construction, creating stunning and functional spaces through both new builds and remodels. Today's guest is Reverend Dr. Chad Johnson. That's his full formal title, although he prefers Pastor Chad. So Pastor Chad is a newcomer to town, and we love those perspectives on the podcast. He moved to Amarillo to lead Amarillo United Methodist Church, a church family born out of the relatively recent split within the Methodist denomination all over the nation and globally over homosexuality in the church. And we talk about that and a whole lot more. I found it to be a beautiful and uplifting conversation, and I hope you do too. Here's Chad. Reverend Chad Johnson, welcome to the Hey Amarillo podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me today.
Excited to get to know you a little bit.
Absolutely.
And get to know you kind of like from on behalf of town. You're new to Amarillo, relatively.
Yes, I've only been here almost about 5-6 months now, so I'm still the new guy in town and loving that. So yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, you are reverend over the Amarillo United Methodist Church. Mm-hmm. As kind of previously noted, that's a new position. Mm-hmm. So let's first talk. If you'll kind of tell me where you came from, where you grew up.
I grew up in the DFW area, so that's home for me, and a small town, not so about an hour outside of Fort Worth, Bridgeport, Texas. And so that's where I grew up, was born and raised there. And began my life there, and at that time didn't ever think ministry was going to be in the mix, but here we are. And so I started out going through high school and middle school. Music was my passion, and I thought early on I want to be a band director.
Oh,
and
fun.
So that was kind of what I started to pursue early on, and then got about a year in, and God said, no, let's do something different. And I had always thought I would be involved in the church to some degree. I knew that from a young age. I just never dreamed pastoral ministry would be my vocation. So it's been a neat journey getting there.
Yeah, I find it very interesting to understand people that choose their religion as like their occupation. That's like quite committed.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in so many different ways. Absolutely.
Totally, yeah. So what was that like for you? Were you, I guess firstly, I'm making an assumption you were raised in the church.
I was.
Yeah.
Yes. From itty bitty, was in the United Methodist Church, and was Bridgeport United Methodist at the time, and was practically raised there in so many different ways, and loved every bit of it. I just, so many fond memories. And when I went off to college, I found a United Methodist Church, and loved every bit of that too. So I always had a love for being involved in the local church. And at the time, with my background, that was music. And so I played drums in the praise band and sang in the choir. And
how big was your church?
Oh gosh,
I don't know how big Bridgeport is either.
Yeah, it's not huge by any means. It's a one school district town is the best way to say it.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. So I think FUMC Bridgeport at the time was probably right about 100 members or so. So small church feel, small town feel. Everybody knew everything about anybody, and you could ask and get 3 different opinions. So it was great, but it was some of the best times, and I loved growing up, and just felt a connection. It felt home there, it felt safe there, and so I loved that. And so I always thought, music would be the way I could serve the local church, wherever that may be. And then a year into college, started feeling very different, and started feeling drawn more to being more active, to the point that maybe band director wasn't where I was headed. Maybe there was something bigger and deeper here. And I remember visiting with a pastor mentor of mine from those days when I was in youth, and we sat down at a Brahms, and I said, okay, well, tell me I'm crazy. And I told him all that I was feeling and everything, and he said, well, I don't think you're crazy. I think you're called. And I said, wow, okay. And he said, you'll
Is that what you wanted him to say, or did you want him to talk you out of it?
No, I wanted him to talk to me out of it. That ministry was so scary to me. I had never, ever thought or envisioned for my life being a pastor. That everything about it just scared me. And so after that conversation, he said, well, I'm at this church that's, I was living in Denton at the time. He said, it's not far, it's the Colony. He said, why don't you come there and I can help discern this calling with you. And the senior pastor there, she's a good friend of mine, Reverend Marcia Middleton. I met her and she said the same thing. She's like, I think you have a calling. We just got to figure out what that calling looks like for you. And
What school were you going to?
So I was at TWU at the time, and that's where I got my undergrad from, was Texas Women's University, and so I loved it there. It was great. And so she said, let's try some things, and she said, you got to try teaching an adult Bible, Sunday school, Bible study, and I was terrified. I thought, oh my God, what is young little old me going to have to say to these very experienced and aged Christians? And we had a blast, and the world did not end, and I did not die, and life went on. And the next thing was, she said, well, you need to preach. And I thought, oh my God. And what I have found is all the things that I thought were going out, I was out to prove God wrong. And I wanted to prove God, no, God, I'm not a teacher, and I'm not a preacher, and I'm not all these things. And time again, God opened doors, and I went, okay, you're right, you win. So it was a very humbling experience, and it really affirmed that God didn't need me to be perfect at these things. God just needed my willingness to go and serve.
That's really lovely.
Yeah.
I think my perspective is like there's this like divine ordination, like you have some sort of like a burning bush experience, and then you are a pastor.
Yes.
And I think it's very interesting to explore. It's actually like quite, you try out the skills needed for the job and see, see how they feel.
Yeah. Yes, I think so many people think that.
Totally.
That we have this just earth-shattering moment, this Saul to Paul experience where our eyes are opened and we go, oh my gosh, I'm going to go preach the gospel. And I think that does happen, and that's wonderful when it does happen. But there are many others that it just is this lifelong gradual climb and realization of where God is calling us. So that's kind of what it was for me.
That's fun. Yeah. So how does one become a reverend?
So in the United Methodist system, there's a slew of steps that you have to go through. It's quite a rigorous process. On average, it takes about 7 to 10 years to go from a discerning candidate to a fully ordained person. Wow! And so it is a commitment, and so that's the challenge. In that process, you meet with there are kind of key moments. So you'll meet with your district superintendent and talk with them, and they'll tell you, yeah, I think you have a calling, and everything you've articulated is what we look for. Then at that point, they make a recommendation to kind of the first level, which is the District Committee of Ordained Ministry. And that's a group of clergy and non-clergy or laity, and those DCOMs is the fun acronym. So DCOMs consist of anywhere from 20 to 30 people. And you have regular check-ins, but then you also have major interview dates. And those interviews they center on about 3 different areas. One is a call. So they want to hear your call and why you feel called and how you feel called to serve, and how does that align with which track you're on. So in the United Methodist Church, there's ordained elder or ordained deacon, and there's differences between the two. And so then there's also theology. They want to ensure that your theology is United Methodist, and you're ready to go preach and teach and articulate that theology. And then the last one is sacrament or worship, and then that's where they look at sermons and they look at classes that you've taught, and is this person capable of being sent into a church and preaching and teaching at a level that is going to help people grow in their faith. So you have a DCOM interview, they make a referral, and then you get to the next level, which is the Board of Ordained Ministry. And that's anywhere from 30 to 45 and sometimes 50 people.
Oh.
And so those are very large interviews of laity and clergy, and they interview you on the same things, but at very deeper levels. And once you interview there, then they make a recommendation for commissioning, and then you enter into a 2-year residency process. And so during the residency process, honing and cultivating the skills to be ready. And then at the end of that process, you go for one last interview, which is the ordination interview. And then after you pass that interview, then it's the big pomp and circumstance and annual conference, which is a yearly gathering. It's a massive worship service, and all the ordinands are ordained, and it's a holy moment of holy moments. It's such a neat time, and the average candidate has worked 7 to 10 years to get to that point with that goal in mind. And so it's such a neat time to see people who have heard a calling, have worked so hard, and have finally gotten there. So that's kind of the process.
When did that happen for you?
That was 2024 for me.
Okay.
So 2 years now as an ordained person.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then, I started the process in 2016. So that tells you kind of how long my process was. So.
Where does education fit into this? I know you also have a doctoral degree.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like seminary? I don't know. I've never become a reverend.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. So the only requirement in the United Methodist Church is that you have a Master's of a Divinity degree from a approved seminary.
Okay.
Some of the local seminaries in Texas are Bright Divinity School at TCU. There's Perkins School of Theology at SMU, and there are others that are approved, but those are the two main ones that we see. So all you have to do is get the master's in divinity, and then you met the educational requirements for ordination. So the doctor for me is not a requirement. It's purely insanity and extra and...
Yeah, just a chill add-on.
Yes, it really is.
So, what is your doctor's degree in?
So I got my master's in divinity from Perkins School of Theology at SMU. I stayed at SMU, and I got a doctor of pastoral ministry from there. Yes.
Congratulations again.
Yes. So.
What year was that?
That was the same year. So there's a neat story here. At the Doctor's of Ministry degree, the program, you have to defend your dissertation. And so you have a panel, and I defended my dissertation on a Tuesday and then had my ordination interview on a Wednesday. And so
What a week.
What a week. It was insane. And Monday was no fun preparing for both.
Oh, man. Just get it done, though, right?
It was, it's
only
like
1 week.
Rip the Band-Aid off and you're done, and it was great. So that was interesting time and a stressful time, but we were blessed and passed both. And so I also graduated in 24 with my doctorates.
And then where you were assigned to a church, I assume?
I was serving FUMC Jacksboro at the time, and that's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So it's about an hour north of Fort Worth.
Oh.
Right close to Wichita Falls.
Cool.
So for anybody wondering location.
Yeah.
It's about an hour out of Wichita Falls. And so I was serving there. I had been serving for several years at that time. I had started in ministry, like I said, in 2016. And I served Rome United Methodist Church, which is again in this Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then I served Rome and Boyd UMCs for several years also. So,
how'd you come to be in Amarillo?
That is a fun story. So in the United Methodist Church, we're under what's called an appointment system. So we do not choose where we go. We are sent out by the bishop and the cabinet.
Okay.
And the bishop and the cabinet, they look at all the appointments every year and they say, okay, well, where are the churches that need pastors and who are the pastors that can fill those churches? And so in our system, every year around January, we go into this, I hope my phone doesn't ring mode, because if it does, most likely you're getting a call about, hey, we're going to move you. And so I got a call, and the DS just said, hey, we have a church for you. We think you're a great fit for this church. they're hungry for a pastor, and your name just keeps coming up. He said, but it's not close. Because at that time, I had only ever served in the DFW area, very close to home, all around Bridgeport. I was within 30 minutes of my hometown at any time.
Your family, your people,
Everybody.
yeah.
Yes. And so he said, get ready for it. And he said, so it's Amarillo. And I went, which is another funny story. So we recently went through a conference merger. So 3 geographical areas merged together to form one new geographical area under the bishop, right? And so we have bishops that oversee these conferences. So our conference is massive now. And I remember my mom asked, she said, well, what's the worst it could be? And I said, well, probably Lubbock would be the worst that it could be. Worst is in the farthest from Bridgeport. And so when my DS said, okay, what's Amarillo? I called my mom and I said, well, I'm being moved. And she goes, it's Lubbock, isn't it? And I said, no, actually it's worse. It's a little further. She's like, you told me it couldn't be. I said, so just slightly though. But I have loved it so far. It's just been amazing.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
So how long from the time that you get the call, the dreaded January call, until you're an Amarillo resident?
It depends, but generally speaking, you can get a call in like January, February, anywhere in there. They try to do them as early as possible to give us as much heads up. And then new appointments are July 1st, first Sunday of July. So around 4th of July is kind of new pastor Sunday.
New pastor
yes,
Sunday.
That's always a big thing, that's such Methodist language. But so yes.
That's quick.
It is quick, yes. And I know pastors who have moved in 10 years 6 times. And, it's the hard part about our system is there's such a need that we do have to move around often sometimes. So.
Yeah, that would be very difficult.
It is.
For both the pastor as well as the church community.
It is. It's certainly a challenge, and I don't envy anybody on the cabinet who has to go through the appointment process. And they try desperately to keep pastors as long as they can where they're serving.
Totally.
But you just never know. And, when you take vows of ordination, one of those vows is, I will go where the bishop sends me. And if that's some crazy year-by-year thing, then okay. We just roll with it and make the best.
Nice.
Yeah.
So why was there an opening here? Was it was there a retirement?
So Amarillo UMC had an interim pastor at the time. And so he's a retired elder and a wonderful
Who's that?
man, Reverend Lynn Brock.
Cool.
And Lynn was serving, and so he was interim, but he had said, look, I'm an interim. I'm not trying to do this for the long haul. I've done my time in ministry. I'm retired. And so they had kind of worked out that if he could make it to June, they would make that switch then.
Nice.
So that brought me into the mix.
Nice.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. How's it been?
It's been amazing.
You said how long? 8 months?
About, 6 or 7
okay,
months
so June.
now. Yeah, June.
June of 25.
Yeah.
Cool.
So however many months that is.
Yeah.
Time's flying.
And did you move alone? Do you have a family unit? Is it just you? You got a dog? What's up?
It's just me and 3 French bulldogs.
Oh, 3 French bulldogs.
And they are amazing, and they are the biggest toots in the world. I love them, but
what are their names?
There are Samson, Montego, and Junebug. And so
I love them already.
Yes, I do too. And it's been how it was. It's been amazing. I think there's such a perception of Amarillo, and I remember fellow clergy going, "You're going to Amarillo?" I said, "Yeah," and they're like, "There's nothing out there. It's just a windy dust bowl."
Well, today, in fact, it is.
It is windy today, and
we're living into our
yes.
our stereotype today.
That's right. It is a little dusty, but I have been blown away with how much there is in Amarillo that I never knew. I've driven through here twice or so, but I, never stopped long enough to see the beauty of the city, and so it's been so wonderful.
That's great. That is a very, very common theme when I talk to people, both here on the podcast and just, people, is learning kind of what this community really is and how it feels and what it has to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. There's so much more here. I have a friend who he serves in the DFW area. He's a pastor, and he actually sang opera here for many years before he went into becoming a pastor. And
That's really cool.
it was, yeah, he was like, "Oh, you're going to love this." And I said, "Well, tell me about it." And he was telling me all, the arts and culture and just everything that's here. And I was like, I never would have envisioned this. And so I called him recently. I said, his name's Reverend Aaron Logan. And I said, "Aaron, you are so right. There is so much to do here. It's unreal. It's the funnest place. It's just wonderful."
That must have been really nice to have that perspective to make you like kind of feel a little bit like, okay, this could be okay.
Yeah, it was. It was a reassurance too, because I thought, Lord, what am I going to do out there? When I'm far from home, or my family and everybody. And so it's just been wonderful. There's more to do than I have time for, which is great.
I would love to tell you about Ingenic Dental Studio here in town. Dr. Jake Motery is my family's dentist, and he and his staff give us just the best family dental experience. But his practice and expertise go so much further than my kids' cavities and my routine cleanings. Dr. Motery specializes in cosmetic and implant dentistry. I've seen some of the work he's done, and it is just gorgeous. It's nothing over the top, very natural looking, but with results that really change a person's whole look. So if you're looking for family or personal dental care, or for a more aesthetically enhancing experience, check out Ingenic Dental Studio online or at their location on Georgia next to Market Street and Steak Express. Okay, so what's it like to be a reverend?
It's life in the fishbowl is probably the best way to say it. Everything you do is just observed and sometimes critiqued.
Observed.
And
you were raised in a small town.
Yes, I was. So
I recognize that language.
Yes, absolutely. But it's one of the neatest vocations. Yeah, I would argue it's one of the hardest vocations out there. Pastors have to be, community leaders and engagers and pastoral caregivers and counselors and public speakers and administrators and building project managers and they never can train you enough in seminary for everything you're going to do in ministry.
Well, and perceived perfect Christians.
Yes, absolutely.
There's that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I tell people sometimes, if you hear me say a curse word, remember, I'm human too, and it's okay. So, and I think that perception's there too, is that, pastors are the ideal Christians. And certainly we strive to be that, to hold ourselves to the highest standard possible.
Right.
But we're human too. And, I remember in seminary, I had a great professor who said, the best thing you can do as a pastor in serving a church is remind them that you're human and they're human, and you're just walking towards Jesus together. And I thought, man, that will preach every day. And so that's kind of what I try to hold myself to is I'm human, we're human, and we're just chasing after the same God together. So.
Well, that's a lovely way to put that.
Yeah. Credit to seminary professor.
Right. So. It's like you practiced it.
Yes.
What is the work like? Because it's your job,
It is.
Yeah.
It's more than an 8 to 5. I think there's so many perceptions. I remember seeing on Facebook, it's one of those fun, like what people think I do when I actually do things. And I think people think, pastors go play golf all the time and just throw together a sermon and then show up on Sunday and preach and then go back to their golf routine. And I would argue, retired clergy may do that, but full-time active clergy, it's just not that way. And on any given week, you're up against, yes, I'm sermon prepping, but at the same time, I'm program building, I'm checking in, I'm also a shepherd for this flock, and they're going to have things that happen in their life that I didn't plan for, but I have to be there. And
we rescheduled this podcast, in fact, because you had a member to support with the medical.
Yes. And so things come up all the time. And I would say the art of flexibility is the greatest for pastors. It's just, and trusting that it will all get done and it will get done in God's time, and trusting that God is with us throughout this work. So, it's everything from staff development in a week to like sermon prep, and then all of the things in between, worship design, and the church season never ends. We're always, I remember I had a young clergy come to me once and say, well, what church season can I really rest the most? And I just laughed. I said, I don't think that you're going to find there is a church season that you can rest the way you're wanting to, because there's always a season. We're always, like right now, we're planning for Easter.
Totally.
And then
it's game time.
Yeah. And then after Easter, we're getting into our summer programming and all the fun stuff that we have planned there. And summer will end, and then we're in fall, and Advent, Christmas is right down the road. And it's just, it goes, and it never stops. I have a pastor friend of mine often says, Sunday never seems to not come at the same time, and it's always coming. I said, yep, that's so true.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Tell me about your church community now here.
So the UMC had a split between, and a new denomination formed. So Amarillo came out of that split. All of the former United Methodist churches in Amarillo split and chose the other new denomination or other routes. And so Amarillo UMC is made up of those who wanted to remain UMC from all of those churches. And so it's just this wonderful dynamic. And when I was looking...
So all the Methodist churches in Amarillo went the global?
Global or independent?
Or independent.
Methodist.
And the base of that split was around accepting homosexuals?
It was.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the split, for the most part, was centered on human sexuality and how theologically how do we approach that? And we found over the last, I would say, 10 plus years in the UMC, there were varying perspectives on that. And that created a great deal of tension. And we finally reached the point where we said, we think we just have such deep, different theological positions. It's hindering both of us living into the work that we feel called to do.
Yeah.
And so that was the split. And so the UMC took the more inclusive stance of the two. And that's what I really noticed about Amarillo UMC. When you get the call from the DS and they say, okay, well, you're going to this church, and every pastor does the same thing. We run to the internet and we Google everything we can find on that church, try to get as much information going in. And I was so blown away by the logo of Amarillo UMC. It kept the mantra of the United Methodist Church, which is open hearts, open doors, open minds. But then in bright red, they added for all. And I just remember being so moved by that this is who this church is. And as I've gotten to know AUMC, that is who they are. It doesn't matter who you are. They want you to walk through those doors and feel at home and like you are family and always have been. And so I love that for AUMC. They've done such a wonderful job of creating their identity as a new church start, because they're only 3 years old. And not only creating their identity, but living into that.
So all of the other churches chose to go the global route, which was the less inclusive. And your church community is made up of the people that said, we want this to be for all.
Yes. Yeah, most of the Methodist churches in that split went the global route, and they're part of that denomination now. There are a few independent Methodists,
okay,
but United Methodism really changed our stance, which has not historically been our stance, but changed the wording in we have a book of discipline. It's our governing book. We removed that harmful language from our book of discipline that prohibited same-sex persons from entering into ordained ministry. Prohibited same-sex weddings in our church buildings. We really took a hard step back and said, we kind of got this wrong theologically, and we need to make some changes. Yeah.
I'm going to throw another easy one at you.
Yes, absolutely. I love this.
I think, there's a lot of research reporting talking about people leaving Christianity, leaving the church.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that?
I think that's very true. I do see that happening. I think that as I read and I talk with people, we as a society, we have a distrust happening with each other and with organizations. And as a pastor, I say, I get it. It can be hard. It can be hard to walk in the doors of a church. And that language in itself strikes fear in the hearts of people, right? A church, that to some brings feelings of, oh my gosh, there's potential harm and there's distrust here and judgment,
Sure,
all of it. And
carries a lot of context.
it does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. And so I would say I get it. I absolutely get it. And that, I think, is also the growing edge for the church. If we can look back and say, hey, I use this in sermons sometimes. There's a great hymn, they'll know we are Christians by our love. And I often like to say, well, but do they? Because there are people out there who don't. And they don't know us by our love. They know us about our judgment and our criticalness and all these things. And so I think there's a growing edge for the church at large of how can we look back and say, we need to do this differently.
And it seems like maybe more institutions of religion that can, as it sounds like the Methodist Church has done, by kind of like taking an internal pulse check. Are we right in what we've always done?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more of that sort of internal organizational reflection might help that a little.
I absolutely think so. I was so happy when our denomination made those changes. And I think it said best. When I first moved here, I met with a young couple in the church. They wanted to take me out to dinner. So we went out to dinner and I asked them, I said, so what is it like? What brought you to Amarillo United Methodist Church? And their words were profound. They said, we grew up in the church and we love it and we have loved it. But then as we grew up a little bit more, we realized that church doesn't stand for what we believe in. And we distance ourselves from that church. And they said now, after the change, that nostalgic, that home, now our denomination believes in what we believe in. If we can step back long enough and say, where is God calling us to change, that can be a good and holy thing. Yeah.
Amen.
Yes, amen.
What is your best day at work?
Oh, Sunday, easy. Coming together for worship is just a holy moment. And it's hard sometimes as a pastor because during worship, every pastor I think would argue or say the same, we're just focused on what's next in worship. And we're really not worshiping as the worship leaders.
Makes sense.
'Cause
You're working.
We're working, and we what's next, and am I ready?
And it's not for you.
Yes, it's not.
Totally.
Absolutely, yeah. But it never fails. There's always a moment where I'm so just in the zone, and what's next, and where are we, and how's it going, and then God just catches me off guard. And it can be the littlest thing. A few Sundays back, we had an infant in church and just being disruptive. And I loved every second of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's God, y'all. This is God right before us. And
I hope the mom felt that way too.
She did.
Good.
I think so.
Sometimes it's harder to celebrate disruptive infants when they are your own.
Yes. Well, and I told her, I said, I love holy disruptions. I think they are the best things for us. And it was wonderful. And so it never fails. Something happens on a Sunday. It's never the same thing, but something happens on a Sunday that just reminds me God is here. God has got us, and it's all just going to be okay. And it's just such a neat moment. I love Amarillo UMC. I told them when I started, I did about 3 worship services, and I said, the joy in this place is just palpable. You guys are excited to be together, and you can feel it. And I have been in churches where that was not the case, but man, y'all just love coming together and worshiping together, and that's awesome. So it's been neat.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
How many people are part of your church?
Yeah. So our membership is a little over 160, and then we worship right at 100, a little under it sometimes, but right about 100 or so.
That's
so,
great.
Yeah. Yeah, we're a blessed group, and right now, so we don't have our own building.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
Yes, not yet. We are working on that, but we have just been blessed. So Amarillo United Methodist Church, when they formed and they started coming together, they were meeting at the Chapel of the Craig, the retirement community.
Yeah.
And so they met there, but then I think within a couple weeks, they went, oh gosh, people are flocking to this, and this chapel is not big enough. And there was a mutual connection, and St. Luke Presbyterian Church reached out and said, hey, we've got everything you need. We've got some extra room that's not being used. Why don't you come and share space with us? And it just
feels very Christian.
Oh, yes, as it should, right? And so we're eternally thankful for St. Luke Presbyterian Church.
Cool.
That's amazing. They have been amazing.
Where's that church at?
It's on Bell Street.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 3000 Bell. You're talking to the newbie to Amarillo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
yeah. What are you by? I don't know where the 3000 block of Bell is.
Just across the street and not just down is the Hobby Lobby on
Bell.
Yeah.
I know where Hobby Lobby is. Listen. Okay.
So there's
you're
a point of location.
Close to 34th and Bell.
Yes, we are.
Great.
Yep.
Near the Hobby Lobby.
Yes.
Yeah, I can get there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what do you hope for?
I think Amarillo UMC not only wants to continue to grow and build the church community that has started here, but also be a pillar in this community of hope. And we have wonderful pillars of hope already in other churches and other businesses and organizations, but to be another pillar of hope and security and safe place in Amarillo. And I think beyond that, Amarillo hopes to grow and continue on the way we have, to the point that we can become a flagship in the Panhandle. Many of the former UMC churches in the Panhandle disaffiliated and chose other routes.
Yeah.
And so to rebuild the UMC presence in the Panhandle.
Yeah.
So
give more people that kind of previous home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are people out there that are longing for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And for yourself, what does a pastor's career arc look like?
Different pastors will give you a different answer to that. When I started into ministry, I started in rural ministry, and I loved that. And so this has been a transition for me, because this is not rural ministry. And so this is going to sound like a cliche pastor answer. I hope to go wherever God leads me. But beyond the cliche of that is, I'm going to go wherever I'm called, and whatever that looks like. And I just want to help people walk closer with Jesus more and more as I can every day. And whatever position or role I can do that in, I'm just so thankful.
This episode is sponsored by the Amarillo Art Institute at Arts in the Sunset. If you haven't been, this place is an amazing center for Amarillo's vibrant art scene. They have monthly events, including the First Friday Art Walk, which showcases the artists they have in residence, and there are some incredibly talented people with all sorts of wares and mediums there. They also offer classes for children and adults in things such as glass blowing, weaving, and pottery. All of it really is just so cool. Check them out on Facebook. That's Arts in the Sunset. Okay, I'm back with the Reverend Dr. Chad Johnson.
Thank you.
I have to call you that. You told me. So that's your title, actually.
That's the full title.
And yes. I love it.
Yes.
It's quite hefty, but you've earned it, certainly.
Well, thank you. Yes. The debt would say so, the college debt in there.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But Pastor Chad, I think, is what you...
Yes, I tell people all the time, don't call me Dr. Johnson. Just
there we go.
Pastor Chad is perfect.
Perfect. Well,
yes.
Pastor Chad, we're back. This is the part of the show that we like to call 8 Straight.
Okay.
And I love 8 straight to a new to towner.
Yes.
So
I'm a
so
newbie.
let's get into it. When you think of Amarillo 10 years from now, what do you hope for?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that Amarillo can continue to grow. I know that Amarillo is looking to grow in so many different ways. And just in the short time that I've been here, hearing about, future hopes and projects, I think all of those are wonderful. And I think to add to that is, this is that pastor's heart coming out a little bit of, I hope that Amarillo can continue to grow towards each other. There's so much division in our world right now that we can continue to lock arms and we're in this together, and draw closer to each other. The same way I hope for our country and just the world at large.
When was the last time you went to Paladuro Canyon?
I've never been
You
there.
haven't gone?
I know. So I came in June, and immediately I was like, I want to go to Paladuro Canyon.
Totally.
And my wonderful office administrator was like, oh God, do not go there right now.
You do not, in fact.
And she was so right.
Yeah, good advice there,
Yes,
by
she
the
was
way.
so right. And she said, wait until it cools off, because Paladuro Canyon is so many degrees hotter than Amarillo at any given
Totally.
time. And so, then you got into the Christmas season and it was just
sure.
busy. And so this is on my to-do, and hopefully to do soon, because before it gets too hot again.
Yes.
So I've never been there. I've seen pictures, and I've heard just absolutely incredible things.
Well, I'm really excited that you are as happy with Amarillo and you have not yet seen our kind of like title gem.
Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, wait till spring,
Yep.
which seems to be quickly approaching with the wind.
It does.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm glad that you've not yet had that
Yeah.
experience.
Not yet, at least.
Other than wind, what does this area have too much of?
Oh gosh, this is going to be. So I mentioned I was in rural ministry,
Yes.
and so my natural answer is traffic.
Yes.
It's weird though. I went to seminary in Dallas, and so I'm so used to traffic. But that was when I was going to seminary, so I knew those days were going to be traffic filled. Everywhere I've served, though, gosh, there's like 6 traffic lights in the whole town, and so it's been very small rural towns. So that's been an adjustment for me, is getting used to day in and day out traffic. So
I am a kindred spirit to the people that call Amarillo non-rural.
yes,
And I appreciate anyone that understands that Amarillo is not.
it's not.
Yeah,
It
it's
really
not
is
rural.
not.
And I judge people that call Amarillo rural because I'm like, well, I know where you're from.
Yes,
And it's
without
not
even-
Amarillo, and it's not smaller towns.
That's right.
So
That's
I love that.
exact- Yes, absolutely.
And what do we not have enough of in your estimation?
Let me say this: football, and I know this is of all the answers. Although I did hear, and I don't know how true this is, so don't anybody make a liar out of me.
Okay.
But I heard semi-pro football is coming back to Amarillo. Now I don't know how true that is.
I wouldn't be the person. I don't sports ball. I wouldn't be
Okay.
the person.
Yeah. What's that?
So
say?
you're a football fan?
I am.
What are your
And
teams?
So, this is interesting. So, my family on my mother's side are all from Oklahoma, and we're Native American on that side.
Cool.
And so, Oklahoma football is our big OU. It's our big team, and I know many listeners right now are going, "Oh my God, who is this guy?" So, yes, I'm a Sooner, but Dallas Cowboys,
Okay.
and then of course, you've got semi-pro teams in Texas and in the DFW area, and so that's just something I miss, getting to go to football games. Not that I don't love high school, and I've been trying to get to a high school game. So
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, yep.
All right. We're football people.
Yeah.
Nice. What's your favorite local building?
Okay, so again, in the sports theme, I love Hodgetown Stadium.
It's beautiful.
It is gorgeous. One of the first events that the AUMC had for me was they had a church night at Hodgetown.
Oh, fun.
And so they they put our name up on the billboard and things, and I got to meet almost the entire church. Like they sold of our 160 plus membership, I think we had 120 or so there, and so I got to meet so many people. But that stadium is gorgeous and just state of the art in so many ways, and I love it. I love that you can sit anywhere in that stadium and feel like you're right there, right at the game. You don't feel, oh, I'm forever away. And I'm used to Texas Rangers in the DFW area, and I remember as a kid taking binoculars because those were the seats we had, and we had to zoom in to see anything. So it's neat to go to a game where everybody is right there in the action. So,
Nice. What's your favorite local restaurant?
oh, this is hard. I have eaten some great food since I have been here. One that I keep going back to is Golden Light. An amazing burger.
You are correct.
And I went there recently. So they do live music on the weekends. And so I went to see Landon Finke play, and he did an amazing job, and it was just incredible. And so great food, great atmosphere. I love it.
So you're like allowed to hang out at the bar at Golden Light?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well, it's great when you walk in and, one of your parishioners is playing, and you go, oh, my gosh, 12 of our congregation members are here. What's up, guys? So, yeah, absolutely.
That's really fun. Yeah, Golden Light's actually kind of known in the industry for being a music spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is quite the gem.
Yeah.
You have 4 hours to spend in Amarillo with someone who's never been here. What do you do?
Depending on the season.
Yeah.
Different
Totally.
seasons.
Totally.
And definitely go eat Golden Light. I can't say that enough. Go eat Golden Light. And then if it's baseball season, go to a Sod Poodles game. I mean, they are a blast. They do so much. If it's not, I went to see the orchestra play this Christmas. And it just, not just the orchestra, I mean, they did an incredible job, but the theater, I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous in there, and I was blown away with everything. So I would have to say, depending on when it is, either one of those for sure.
The Globe News Center is a gem and a very, very cool story about how it came to be.
Yeah.
You'll have to, if
I
you've
will
not,
have to-
yeah, you'll have to,
I'll look into that.
read into it. It's remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, finally, what do you think people get wrong about Amarillo?
People think, and I heard this when I was coming to Amarillo, people
Right.
think Amarillo is just, the Windy Dust Bowl on the way to New Mexico.
Yep.
And one thing I was blown away with is the arts and culture here. I mean, you've got the symphony orchestra, you've got Amarillo Little Theater. I've been several times there, and just phenomenal productions. I mean, this is great work. So the arts and culture here is, I think, the unexpected gem of Amarillo in so many different ways.
I 100% agree. All right. I like to end by offering my guests the opportunity to endorse something. So whether it be, I don't know, like a Methodist church or just something to do, try, know about, what would you have a listener be aware of?
Yeah. Well, beyond come visit us at, Amarillo United Methodist Church.
Yes.
One thing I would say that I have just fallen in love with is the Wesley Community Center here in town. And I got to know them. Several of our parishioners are on their board, and they said, they're historically United Methodist organization. They've kept those United Methodist. Oh, right,
the Wesleyan. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And so I thought, okay. And I went and I toured, and I was just blown away. The resources and the programs that they are offering young people is just incredible. And they are changing lives every single day in some way. And I love it. And I love that they're connected to the UMC, but just the work they're doing is just outstanding. So I would say to anybody that hasn't gotten a chance to go out there, tour their facility, check out the little babies all the way up to their high school graduates that have been through their programs, the wrestling program. Everything I hear about them is just so neat, and they're doing God's work in a really neat way. So
their senior stuff, all of
amazing.
it. They do so much. The executive director was actually on the pod it's been like a month or two now.
Yeah.
And I actually don't know how you wrangle that broad of an organization.
Oh, yes. That's a challenge.
It's amazing work.
Yeah, it is. And she is doing an incredible job, I think. And just, they're changing lives, and I love that.
Solid endorsement.
Yes, great.
All right, Pastor Chad, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome to Amarillo.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Looking for the perfect date night? The Amarillo Symphony presents Romance at the Symphony, featuring the passion of Romeo and Juliet, the excitement of West Side Story, thrilling music from Gone with the Wind, plus soprano Sarah Beckham Turner singing beloved opera arias. It is perfect for this Valentine's season. Tickets at amarillosymphony.org. That concludes the episode. Thanks to Pastor Chad for the interview. Thank you to Ingenic Dental Studio, the Amarillo Art Institute, and the Amarillo Symphony for supporting the podcast, and to Broderick Adams for editing every week. Executive producers on this episode are Jim and Barbara Witten. And thank you for listening. This has been episode 440 of Hey Amarillo. I'm Skylar Gallup, and we hope you'll come back next week.